few sneaking in. Hey, Don, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Really well, thank you. We'll let a few more pop in the meantime. Got David up in the top corner there. Say good day to everybody.
Hey guys.
Oh, thank you.
G'day. Hello.
Hey, mate.
Just let everybody filter in. Yeah, we got Steve coming in, Ben coming in.
Oh, is that what I'm eating?
It look like mash. Is it still
What
the
about you,
right?
Nick? How have you been, mate?
Good, mate. Yep, all happening.
Excellent. Starting to get a pretty big wall here, guys.
Yeah, I've only got you, Lee. I might swipe to the left.
Yep.
There we go. I got 6.
And then you keep going, you'll get the next 6 and the next 6 and the next 6. Yeah.
No, just 6.
Okay. All right. So if you don't already have one, guys, I'd suggest you grab a pen and paper. Yeah. So I'll give you a chance to go and grab a pen and paper. You're going to want it today. Also, a bit of a heads up that we're live on Facebook. So the people who are on Facebook, stay with us. You can listen and reflect. We probably can't get you to particularly dive in and contribute. But if you guys are familiar with the chat, if people familiar with chat in Facebook, in Zoom, does everybody know how to access that? G'day, Brendan, Mick, BT. How are you, mate? Great to see you, Brendan. How are you, mate?
Good, thank you.
Wayne's here. Chris is here. Work. If you're not familiar with the chat, down the bottom of your screen, you should be able to go into chat. Now, along the way here, as we take you through some of these insights that David's going to share with you.
There'll be heaps of pens in there.
Oh, I'm going to ask you maybe to all mute yourselves for the time being too, because it's going to be pretty hard for me to locate if anybody has got anyone in the background. But yeah, as we go through this process, if there is something you want to share in the chat, feel free to. If you don't want to share it in the chat, you don't have to. But I will ask everyone to press mute for a start tonight. Bit different to those who are used to our crew sessions, because usually we'll leave you off mute.
I'm not trying to piss you off, but can we put your phone away for dinner?
Who's getting told to put their phone away? Is that you, Bob? No, very good. That was awesome. So yeah, but before we start, I will get really clear. We'll get rolling here tonight, but I want to be really clear about our participation. You're welcome to share anything in the chat out loud at various times if you want to. We'll sort of ask for that, but you're also completely welcome to stay quiet, listen, and just reflect. There's no expectation either way, but this session is going to work whether you share or not. But ultimately, this is for you. So if you're on Facebook Live, it's going to be a bit of a listen and reflect space. But if you're on Zoom, you can use the chat, as I said, only if you want to.
How many blokes can you see, Lee?
I can see probably about 40 or 50.
Oh, good. I can see 6.
You're right. Yeah, no, I can see.
Those 6 are big for me.
Those 6 are big. Yeah, good work. You're on your phone. I'm not quite sure how we work that, but yeah.
Anyhow, yeah.
All good. Look, guys, as I shared in the video update the other day, the work inside Uncommon Man, it's really been pretty profoundly shaped by the man you're about to hear from. David's been a mentor of mine for one-on-one for 11 years, but I came across David, who ran a men's health session with me back in 2005, I think it was. So we're talking 21 years ago. For the last,
you were 30, I was 34.
It's about David.
Looking at Australia's leading health retreat. Sadly, it doesn't exist anymore. It was at the back of the Gold Coast at a place called Mount Wongawallen. It was called the Golden Door Health Retreat. An incredible place, an incredible experience. When I started there, I was the youngest in the team. I learned so much from older people that I worked with. And there I mentored 30,000 guests over the 16 years. in how to be better, whatever that meant for them. Then when I turned 40, I thought, fuck, I'm not growing anymore. What am I going to do? And so that's when I started to think about what I've been doing for the last 12 years. So when I was 42, I took a redundancy from the retreat and started my own business doing one-on-one coaching. And here I am 12 years later. So that's a high-level summary of my background, so that you know that I've got some street cred in this area. So in the last 12 years, I've had 6,500 conversations with my clients, and it's been different work to the retreat work, but I love it as much. And at 55 years of age, I hope to be doing this for another 2 decades. So that's my background, and that's where I am today. So
just on that, I just want everyone to understand the depth of experience that David's speaking from. As you know, we're all about trying to take action here. We're not about theory. So this is not theory. This is observation over decades. And so I think that's really powerful. So Dave, let you sort of take us into the biggest learning from the work you did. Right.
So today, guys, is to start a conversation with all of you so that you can benefit from the wisdom that I've learned from all of the thousands of people that I've worked with over the years. That's what this is about. It's all about you benefiting from it. So today, what we're going to start with is one of the big learnings that I've got from the last 30 years of my career. And when I was 38, I had just done a goal-setting workshop. And I went downstairs to do the rosters for next week. And an epiphany landed in my head. And the epiphany was, after having done this workshop with maybe 20,000 guests over the last decade, in my head, the following landed. And here's something that I would encourage you to write down. What landed in my head was, how we define success in life determines what we value most. I encourage you to write that down. How we define success in life determines what we value most. And then after that, the next statement landed in my head, which was, what we value most is demonstrated by how we spend our most important depreciating asset, which is our time. And I'll encourage you to write that down as well. So now I'll say the whole thing for you. How we define success in life determines what we value most. What we value most is demonstrated by how we spend our most important depreciating asset, that is our time. So that landed in my head after having done a goal-setting workshop with about 20,000 people. And here I am 17 years later, and I've worked with thousands more people, and I still think that that is 100% accurate. So the reason I want to share that with you today is because where we get our self-esteem from, whether it's externally or internally, it really matters. And it sets up our path and our trajectory for life thereafter. Leigh, you want to come in?
Yeah, I'd just love you to slow this right down, guys, and notice what landed for you. No analysing, no fixing, but just take a minute and write a single sentence maybe. And if you're on Zoom, if one word stands out, drop it in the chat. When you think about what was just shared. How we define success in life determines what we value most, and what we value most determines how we spend our most important depreciating asset, which is time. And then where we get our self-esteem from, it quietly defines our life. Give me another 30 seconds, guys. And feel free to share anything in the chat. Living in full respect. Nice, Darren. Okay. Giving back to people that are around you. Nice, Steve. Strength, Ben Tampolani, lovely. Live life in the now, Don. Okay. Living my passion. Nice, Marcus. Time's valuable. Absolutely it is, Brendan. All right. Moving on, perhaps, Dave.
All right. So how we define success, determines what we value most. What we value most, demonstrated by how we spend our most important appreciating asset, our time. Yep, that's all true. So now I want to move on and share with you some of the big influences that I've learned anecdotally from working with thousands of men. What are the big influences in our culture where men get their self-esteem from? Let's go there now. So I've been talking to men about these concepts for 25 years, since I was 30. When I first learned about what's called performance-based self-esteem. So let me give you more knowledge about what the typical genesis story for performance-based self-esteem is in our culture. It's a story that I call the 10-year-old boy story. So here it is. So a 10-year-old boy gets home from school, and one of his parents, or both of his parents, ask him about his performance in his maths test, or they ask him about his performance in his cross-country race. But either way, one or both parents ask him about his scholastic performance and or sporting performance. This is the typical way that they engage with their 10-year-old son 5 days a week. This is the typical terrain that they discuss with their son 5 days a week at 10 years of age. It's not intentional, but nonetheless, this is what they do. As a consequence of that engagement and the terrain that they navigate when they're engaging with their 10-year-old son, they are more in relationship with his performance than they are in relationship with him. I'll say that again. As a consequence of the questions that they ask him related to his scholastical sporting performance, and that being the predominant engagement with him when he gets home from school Monday to Friday, they are more in relationship with his performance than him. That continues week after week, month after month, year after year, until he finishes high school. And then at that stage, he is hardwired to think, because he's been hardwired to think this, he's now hardwired to think that performance is the thing that matters most. I'll say it again. He's now hardwired to think that performance is the thing that matters most. And he's 18 years of age. He then enters the workforce of whatever nature, because we don't determine the gifts we're born with. We don't determine the amount of privilege that we're brought up with, but we do determine what we do with it. So he goes out into the world and he uses the gifts and the privilege that he's been given to the best of his ability. And thereafter, this statement that's in his head that performance is the thing that matters most, that's going to come at a cost to him in the future. And the cost will come in the form of not giving himself enough self-care or not thriving in his loving relationships sufficiently. So that's the problem with performance is the thing that matters most. The thing about life is that the domains of self and relationships and work are interdependent. So you've got to be the best that you can be in all of them. If you're not, it'll come at the cost of one of the others. So the problem with our culture is that most men are given hard wiring where, to varying degrees, they think that performance is the thing that matters most. So some men get a little bit of this because it's on a continuum. So some men get a little bit of this and they get a little bit of their sense of self from their performance. Other men are at the other end of the continuum and they are 100% defined by their performance. And in my experience, after again having navigated these conversations with thousands of men in the last 25 years, the average predisposition to performance-based self-esteem for men in our culture on the continuum, this is a 0 out of 10 and this is a 10 out of 10. And a 10 out of 10 is a workaholic. I'll say that again. On the continuum of predisposition to performance-based self-esteem, this is 0 and this is a workaholic. In my experience, the average predisposition for men in our culture is there, about an 8 out of 10 predisposition to performance-based self-esteem, which is exactly where I was at 30 years of age when I started to learn about all of this. Exactly where I was. And I had to do the work on myself to decrease my predisposition to getting too much of my self-esteem from my performance at work. And yeah, so 8 out of 10 is the middle of the bell curve for men in our culture. That's just normal. But the problem is it comes at a cost. And the costs are, it comes at the cost of enough self-care and or thriving in loving relationships. Because we've only got so much bandwidth, and how we allocate our bandwidth in life really matters. Leigh, you want to come back in?
Absolutely. So for everybody out there, I'd like you to just take 2 or 3 minutes. If something shifted, something resonated, you've heard some of this before, I guess, a lot of you, but I'd love you to just take 2 or 3 minutes and write down anything that comes to mind. Moment, feeling, even nothing if it's not. Space is okay too. This is again private unless you choose otherwise. We're just going to give you 2 or 3 minutes, and then we're going to roll into 2 or 3 minutes of some optional sharing out loud. Great share, Steve. I'm Brendan. It's just for Dave's. I don't know if you can see the chat, Dave.
I can't read all of the text, Leigh.
Okay. So, Steve, I can totally relate. My self-care and ability to give back to those I love was at rock bottom because all I ever did was work to try and make others appreciate me. Brendan, sitting at about 8 out of 10, very close to a workaholic. Brett, I've been in relationships where I felt reprimanded for attempting some self-care. Oliver, how do you systemically change something that's so ingrained in us and in our culture? It's part of the journey you're on, Oliver, and part of what we're going to share today.
Good point, Oliver.
Great point.
Great point.
We can talk about why we're here, but we're here to make some progress, right? I love that. Nick, I feel my failures and not my wins. Yeah, wow. Bob, I can relate this to my youngest son, almost 18. I need to get deeper with him. Powerful.
I just got goosebumps.
Yeah. Stu, the extreme lack of EQ taught to the modern man through the Western world is borderline criminal, but is absolutely by design by the pricks we have in the political class today.
Wow.
Dan, I feel like Dave's been looking me square in the eyes over the last 5 minutes. Wow, I'm captivated. James, I feel for my kids. Great shares, team.
Awesome, guys. Awesome.
Raw and honest and
Real.
absolutely.
No BS.
No BS. All right. Well,
You want me to go, Lee?
if we want to lean into some inputs into
Yeah. All right.
how does this happen?
I'll set it up. So now I want to give all of you a bigger lens to look at all of that with. So let's now talk about some of the inputs into the genesis of that. Like, we're all on the continuum somewhere. Some of us have got a little bit of a predisposition to performance-based self-esteem, and it's come at us at a little cost. Others are at the other end of the continuum, and it's come at an enormous cost. And I've heard all of those men cry in front of me, et cetera, in the last 25 years. I've heard all of it. I know all the stories. And all of us are on the continuum between these two extremes somewhere. So it doesn't just happen. There's genesis that makes this happen. So for some of us, it comes from a parent, both parents, lack of a father of significance in our life, giving us a role model to follow. For others, it's other role models that we were influenced by. And others, it's just that maybe plus broader cultural influences. But all of us have been shaped by certain inputs into where we live on that continuum in terms of why are we predisposed to performance-based self-esteem to this degree or all the way up to here. But I know most of you live here because I've been talking about this shit for 25 years. So I just know that most of the audience is here, which is exactly where I was when I started my education about, okay, well, what the fuck do I do about this now? So, Lee, we want to throw it to the guys to now take some notes about what do they think are the inputs into the genesis of where they live on the continuum?
Don't need me here, David. 100%. Take 2 minutes, guys. Write down what you believe shaped this for you. Was it role models? Can you remember the role model? Can you remember, personally, I remember being around footy clubs. What an environment for performance-based self-esteem to be rife. And they're the people that I looked up to. So I wonder what it was for you.
For me, it was, I'm 18 years of age. I'm training with Hayley Lewis. She's at the front of the line for the 10-100s butterfly. And I'm in the line behind her. And it was all about elite performance.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any male, keyword, male role models to enable me to navigate that performance-based self-esteem filter that I then used to look at life through for the 12 years until I started learning about this shit. Wow, I would have loved to have had a role model to educate me in the ramifications of being too dependent on performance-based self-esteem when I was 18 years of age. Wow, I would have loved that, but it didn't exist. And for most of the men looking at me right now, it didn't exist for them, which is why here's the continuum. And most of us started here at 18 years of age and stayed there maybe for the next 10, 20, who knows?
So this is your chance, guys, to write it down. Again, make the most of it. Give yourself just a moment to think about who the role models were, what the cultural expectations were, or both. Just take a couple of minutes. I'll give you a bit of silence to have a think about it. Again, feel free to share anything in the chat.
If anything comes up in the chat, Lee, let me know. I love hearing it.
Yeah, Marcus, parents' belief system, cultural influence in the school system. Don, genuine lack of self-belief, and then found that out by helping others. They would in turn thank me. Service. Yeah, pretty key indicator of it. Well done, Don. Parents' values, parents' traumas. From Troy. From Stu, rugby club, dad's work, school, friends. Lack of a father figure, kicked out from home before 15, had to try everything by myself. James, father and school. Troy, what you saw on TV as a kid, teen, and adult. Chris, brief satisfaction and always trying to get that feeling again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dan, I feel that we had to be better kids than everyone else's kids. G'day, Steph. G'day, mate. G'day, Mick. Lack of self-belief through school. Oliver, divorced parents, solo mum, wanting to make her boys, me and my brothers, strong men. Always pushed to do. Yeah, so
Yeah.
true.
She did her best with what she knew.
Yeah. Brett, parents, especially mum, were performance-based, keeping up with the Joneses and too much alcohol. All results, no compassion. Did their best they could and had their own traumas. Todd, no father figure or role model. This is awesome, guys. Thank you for sharing. Nick, the college system, expectation to be something influenced by a lack of self-esteem and confidence to be the best me. College system, 100%. School system itself, competing with your friends. Absent father affection. Bob, thanks for sharing, mate. A lot of influences here, wasn't there?
Hey, it's different for everyone. Everyone's got their own journey.
Wayne, Dad, if I don't pass, I'll be a failure in life. I really appreciate the sharing, guys. It's awesome.
It is awesome. And it just identifies, again, that we're all on that continuum somewhere. All of us. I remember when I started to do the work on myself to decrease my predisposition to performance self-esteem at the same time as increasing my predisposition to healthy self-esteem. And it took me, I reckon it took me 2 years to transition from 8 out of 10 predisposed to performance-based self-esteem to feel good about myself to healthy self-esteem. And in my work of the last 12 years, one-on-one, in my coaching, that's typically how long it takes the average man to go from too much of a dependency on performance-based self-esteem to healthy self-esteem. And please write down the definition of healthy self-esteem. Here it is. Healthy self-esteem is, I feel good about me just because. It can't be added to. It can't be taken from. It's not something I do. It's something I have. Here it is again. Healthy self-esteem is I feel good about me just because. It can't be added to. It can't be taken from. It's not something you do. It's something you have. Most men in our culture have had precious little training in that, which is why we're having this conversation today about the training they have had. So, Leigh, I think it's a good segue to ask the guys to plot themselves on the performance-based self-esteem continuum. 0 is couldn't be any lower. 10 out of 10 is a workaholic. 8 out of 10 is where I say is the middle of the bell curve for men in our culture, where I was from 18 to 30. Where do you currently sit on the continuum, guys, from 0 to 10? Leigh, you there?
Yeah, I am. I was going to actually ask, because a lot of the guys in the room have done a little bit of work. I wonder where you were when you first came and you became a little bit aware of this, and where you are now. So I wouldn't mind you just putting up the two numbers. If you came in and we started doing some work together, whether it be 3 weeks ago, 3 years ago, I'd just be curious to see where you thought you were when you came in and then where you are now. Would that be okay if you gave me two numbers? Everybody okay with that?
11.
Dan, now you're a 4. Awesome.
Read it out, Leigh. I can't see it.
Okay, yep. So we've got 9.5, 8, 7, 9. From 18 to 40, I was a 9. Now I'm a 4. 9, 11. Mick's gone from an 8 to a 6. 8,
Yeah.
8.5 to 6, Steve. Beautiful. 5 today, Darren. 9 to a 6, Bob. 9 to 8, Oliver. 8 to 9 to a 4, Marcus. 9 to a 6, Chris. 9.999 to 7, Don. 9 to 7, Stu. Spent a couple of decades at 9.5. Todd, 9 to 10, now an 8 and getting lower by the day. Wayne from an 8 to a 5. Brett, I was probably a 9, got to as low as a 3 or 4 sometimes, probably a 7 today though. Nice, Brett. Doug, 10 to a 6. James, 8 to a 6. Ben, 9 to a 6. Nick, 9.5 to 5. Brendan, I would say I was 9.5 before I started Uncommon Man. Guys, that's powerful stuff.
You're doing good work, Leigh.
The men are doing good work, David. it's the commitment to growth, guys. We talked about it. Isn't that phenomenal when you hear that?
Wow.
Still some room to move.
Yeah, on average, it takes blokes 2 years to go from the average, which is 8 out of 10, to healthy self-esteem. And these are men that I work with in 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Average is 2 years. You just got to do the work. All right. Do you want to segue into the next thing, Leigh, or you want me to do it?
Well, I think this is your piece. I mean, there's not much point in us coming in here, guys. As you know, we're very much action based. We want to move towards the next piece, because if we stay where we were in the past, we don't get anywhere. So where we're going to go next, and I'll throw to Dave to introduce it, is that how do we start the change? Well, you've all started in various ways, but our plan over the next few months is to have a session a month with David to work through this over time, which number one in itself is a privilege. But the first step today is we want you to leave today with something, so you can start to take action towards it. You're already taking action for the guys that are doing the work in crews, etc., or have done the work in the past. But I'll throw to David for the action we're going to take to start to make some progress.
Okay, here we go. So the action to take, guys, after tonight is to handwrite your definition of success in life. Not type it, handwrite it. And if it's 4 lines, it's 4 lines. If it's 4 pages, it's 4 pages. There's no right or wrong. It's your definition. I'll say it again. So the action after tonight is to handwrite your definition of success in life. What does success in life look like to you? Success in life is, that's the action. Got to be handwritten. So once you know that, you then have got more clarity about what you value. And as I said 40 minutes ago, what you value is demonstrated by how you spend your most important depreciating asset, your time. So you got to be crystal clear about how you define success in life, because it sets up the path that you have been on historically and the path that you will be on in the future. And if you want to change that trajectory to a different path, well, you've got to change the goalposts of how you frame success in life. So, for example, just give you a high-level summary of working with men in this space for the last 12 years. So, sometimes men will say, success in life for me used to be predominantly about success in the business. Now, I've recalibrated that definition to success is now, yep, successful in the business, enough self-care, looking after me, and enough is a subjective thing. So enough is relative to the man. So yeah, they want to be successful in their business. They want to give themselves enough self-care, and they want the triple whammy. They want to thrive in their loving relationships. That's the meat on the bones for most of the men that I've worked with in the last 12 years. That's the best that they can be in their life. They want all of that. And it takes work, but it's achievable. So yeah, the action after tonight is handwrite your definition of success in life. Get crystal clear about what you value and why you spend your most important depreciating asset on this, this, and this. Let's get crystal clarity about that. Leigh, you there?
I am here. It's powerful, and we have a number of guys in the room that are moving into uncover, which is probably fairly appropriate for what we're doing right now. But I think there's great power in handwriting this out. There's great power in hearing a different message. And I think the key here is to, when you take the opportunity to write this down, don't edit it. Don't put a heap of structure around it for tonight. Just be honest with yourself. Everyone's familiar with this concept of wise as self or master. Yeah. That's who's writing this. Yeah. That coming from a place of full respect for those who really understand that, that's where I want you to write this from. I think it's really powerful. And you're going to notice what that reveals for you guys. Before we finish tonight, Dave, you open to taking 1 or 2 questions.
Sure.
If you want to take yourself off mute, if you've got a question you'd like to ask David. feel free to. Peter?
I suppose, is there a possibility to go first? If this performance-based is the way that we've been brought up and raised and everything else, and I've got an 11-and-a-half-year-old son and I don't want to go down the same way, what can we do to not only improve ourselves, but to encourage and be the role model for our kids coming up?
Thanks, Todd. Todd's just said thanks, David.
Is that Todd? Was it Lee?
Yeah. Todd
Right.
said needs to go. Thank you, David.
Oh, okay, right. But that was Peter who just asked the question.
Peter asked the
Right.
question.
Okay, Peter. So our most important legacy, as you've articulated, is to not pass this on to the next generation. Our legacy doesn't get any bigger than stopping it with us. So the answer to your question, Peter, is a long one. And every week, all of the fathers that I work with, we do that work to do what they have to do to end this predisposition with the father and not pass it on to the son. So it takes time. But 11-year-old son, my first answer to you, Peter, would be the model that you are giving him is the most important thing to work on now. What he sees, what he hears, the touch that you give him, because boys are so tactile. They're far more physical in their love language than girls. That's just reality. Men feel emotion deeper than women. That's another reality. I'll say it again. Men feel emotion deeper viscerally in our bodies than women. So for all of those reasons, yeah, number one, Peter, is until we next catch up, just start with you and the model that you are giving him. Another question, Lee?
Now, Nick, do you think this is the critical point that leads to huge numbers of male suicide? We've had that.
You want me to answer that?
You can go for it, Dave. That's why you're here.
In our subsequent sessions, guys, in the coming months, we'll answer that in great detail. But just to answer that question, who was it? Nick?
Yes.
Nick, this stuff broadly and the ramifications of it, which, like I said, we'll unpack in subsequent months, and the ramifications of it and how they play out in men's lives, I do believe are some of the greatest inputs into the frequency of men taking their lives. Absolutely. For example, and I could give you 4 hours of stories, but I'll give you one story from one farmer. I vividly remember a father telling me when I would have been 44, when I was 2 years into one-on-one coaching. And this father tells me that his son finished high school, went to uni, finished uni, and felt such performance pressure to then succeed in life after uni, his son topped himself. And that's just one story of performance-based self-esteem being such a powerful causation of the pressure that we put on men and the desperation that they feel to do something about the fact if they don't come up to their expectations or others' expectations or whatever. So yes, Nick, we'll unpack that a lot in the coming months. But yeah, this is the big genesis of a lot of it. Absolutely. Any other questions, Lee?
No, Stu wants to ask a question, but I did see that Oliver took himself off mute. Did you have a question, Oliver?
Oh, yeah. I was just typing it actually, but yeah, I guess can you comment on balancing healthy competition with being with performance-based self-esteem?
Oliver? Yeah. All right, let me answer that. So doing my best at work because I want to, I'll say that again. Doing my best work at work, whether I'm employed or a business owner or whatever, doing my best work at work because I want to, that's healthy self-esteem. Versus doing my best work at work because I'm too dependent on it for too much of my sense of self, that's performance-based self-esteem. One is me at my best, no negative ramifications. And one is me trying to do my best at work, but having ramifications for the other domains of my life. Starting with my relationship with me, which won't be a good one if I'm too dependent on work for too much of my self-esteem. I'll say that again because some of you will want to write this down. Doing my best work at work because I want to, that's healthy self-esteem. Doing my best work at work because I'm too dependent on that to feel good about myself, that's performance-based self-esteem. Lee, any other questions?
Stu wanted to ask a question, and then Dan, the catalogue of reading might be similar to what we've given you, but I'll touch on that in a second. Stu?
Yeah, mate. I'm just wondering whether or not you or us or we or how we go about getting the government to finally start taking this shit seriously, appointing a men's commissioner or whatever the fuck it is, and actually getting on with starting to address this stuff from a kindergarten level right the way through, because it obviously ain't changing and it's only getting worse the last 40, 50 years.
Stu, I couldn't be a bigger fan of what you're advocating. I have spent the last 25 years of my career doing so much work in this area as one man. And the beauty about tonight's conversation is that in the last 11 years, Lee, I've inspired you to do work of a similar nature.
100%.
So we're all in agreement about the great need. So, yeah, I don't know what the fuck we can do as individuals, but collectively, surely we can do something. But in terms of it getting worse, well, I think the education is getting better of our young men. I think they are more knowledgeable about, for example, being able to navigate all emotions, good and bad, as one KPI for a man. I think we're getting better at things like that. But yeah, broadly, culturally, we got a long way to go. Yes, Stu, in agreement. Lee, any more questions?
No, just Dan did ask if we have a catalogue of online audio or reading that we can lean into.
Yeah, all right.
I will share. I will share, guys. I think I've shared these with you before, guys. The Terry Reel. I don't want to talk about it. Is a great.
I don't want to talk about it. Overcoming the Secret Legacy of Male Depression. That is the book that a man advocated I read when I was 30. It is the most important. It is the most important influence on my parenting of my 3 children in the 25 years since. And I advocate all of the men listening to this tonight to read, I don't want to talk about it, Overcoming the Secret Legacy of Male Depression, written by Terry Real in 1997. Read that now, and then read it again, and then read it again. And by the end of the year, if you've read it 10 times, you will really be quite knowledgeable about the enormity of what we're talking about tonight. Don't go anywhere else. Just read that book 10 times before the end of the year. That's the advocacy. Leigh?
I just shared the link in the chat to, I think it's to Amazon or Booktopia. I do want to share that. David advocated for me to read this in the first 2 years of work we did together one-on-one, and I refused to because I started to read the first 20 pages and I found it ridiculously confronting. I said, this is not a feel-good book.
No.
To be frank. And what I would say is that it's been the single source of whenever we're creating tools, whenever we're creating programs, the thing that Adam and I always come back to is this understanding, which we're going to explore in the next few weeks, and some of you already explored it, is the understanding of full respect, that we're neither one up or one down. And for those of you that understand it, which is the bulk of you in the room, for some of you, you may not yet, but we understand that full respect piece means that when we're neither better than or less than, we actually go to work and we are working because we love working, as an example, Oliver. Yeah. So when you hear us talk about those things, this is what we're aiming for with everything that we're giving you on the journeys that you're all on. Does that resonate for everybody? Yep. So that's this whole process is how do we do that? How do we do it in the environment that we do it in? David does it in his one. I've been bloody privileged to go through it. But this book itself is just a wonderful way for you to understand and also have some compassion, because the thing about full respect is all about compassion. And you need to have compassion for those influences that we wrote down earlier tonight. Yep. I've got to have compassion for those men who I followed in blindly at Croyd Football Club. And they gave me a lot of positives, right? But by the same token, they displayed monumental examples of performance-based self-esteem. But when I come from a place of compassion, I realize it's a story it's almost in perpetuity, right?
It's not intentional.
Yeah.
It's just what they've been hardwired to do.
Yeah. And it is not on audio books, no, which is why on the journey through, guys, sometimes I've given you the cop out of going and listening to Fierce Intimacy. As everybody's heard me mention the book Fierce Intimacy, that's the alternative, all right? That's for relationships. It has a little bit in there, but it's not the same.
It is 8% of the enormity of I don't want to talk about it.
Agreed.
In terms of men being educated enough based on what we're talking about tonight, the terrain that we're navigating tonight. So yeah, Fierce Intimacy, great book, but not the book that we're advocating.
Correct. It's the underling, let's call it. All right. We're just over an hour. Team,
All right.
David, anything to finish with?
So guys, great to have met you all. I wish it was in person. Anyhow, that's life. Hope you've got something from tonight. And we are going to build on this foundation. So this is a foundation. We're going to build on that in the coming months to give you more knowledge, more tools, and I don't think it gets better than that. If you can order the book now and start reading it in 2 weeks when it arrives, fantastic. Even better. That will be a wonderful adjunct we do in the coming months. Leigh?
Privileged to have you, David. You're learning.
Thanks for the invite. Thanks for the suggestion. This is all Leigh's idea, guys. He said, David, I want you to spread your message with more men. So I said, okay, let's do it. So thank you for the opportunity, Leigh. Great work.
Beautiful. Let's keep building, gents. And hey, can everybody do what we normally do? Take your hand, give yourselves a pat the back. Because not many blokes are in here doing this work, gentlemen, and you are. And be proud of the man that's staring back at you in the mirror, as David would always say to me. Much love, guys. I think James is coming at the end. I think he might have thought it. All right. See you guys. Take care. All right. I think everybody's jumping out. How do you feel about that, Dave? Oh, hang on. I'll let these guys get out. I'll have to move them out. Actually, we'll go out and come back in, Dave. Same link. Yeah.